So this is the Volkswagen e-Golf. Long-term users will know that I've already tested this against its brother, the GTE, but I want to give it its own review because I'm doing a full electric car series. I've already booked in a rash of electric cars that are on the market in Ireland, and I'm going to test them all back to back. So subscribe and make sure that you click that bell icon, because every time I do an electric car one, you'll get a lovely notification. Let's find out about the e-Golf and what it's capable of. So, I'm in a Golf. I mean, you know, it's still the one that everybody points at when they want a 5-door hatchback. And the difference between this and the BMW i3, of course, is this has standard back doors, but we'll come to the back in a second. Up front here, it is, you would struggle really to tell the difference of whether you're in a normal Golf or an electric Golf. And this is, of course, the electric one. You still have all the little drop-down stuff that's here, all these little doors that open. You've got the touch screen here in the center, which is the best in the market at the moment. You have manual speedo readouts and an electronic gizmo in the middle that tells you about your range and things. Materials used are kind of mid-range. I won't say they're top spec, they're pretty much mid-range, and you get a decent glove box in here as well, which is well constructed and well put together. I only have one USB port though, Volkswagen. I had to use, because I put in a dash cam. I'm testing dash cams as well, subscribe for them too. But I had to use one of these things which converts your 12-volt socket into a 2-port USB. I do of course have a set of knobs here for pretty much everything, but I have a touchscreen for everything else. So the car is started, that's what that ding dong is about, and that's as far as you're going to get. You're not going to get any tick over, any vibrations running inside the car. But I actually, for volume control on the machine, on the touchscreen here, it is a touch pad with no haptic feedback. Demerit points in that, but I do have steering wheel controls here that controls everything else. Now the actual touchscreen itself is a very simple, straightforward affair. You've got this full menu system in here which allows you to get into all kinds of settings, including your vehicle settings and your e-manager settings, which is something most people don't set. I did set it. You can set the car while plugged in to turn itself on and be ready to leave at the time you want to go. So I have it set for 8:10 in the morning when the kids want to go to school, and on the weekends then more like 8:35, 8:40. So at night time it only charges, the charging only begins when it knows it's going to leave, and it sets the heater to come on inside the car as well. And all that is drawing from the power of your house rather than the power of the batteries within the car. Also, you can see my average stuff that's gone on since start this morning. I've used 38 kilowatts per 41 kilometers per hour, sorry. I've gone long term, I've gone nearly 400 kilometers. I reset at one point, so it's over 400 kilometers in this as well. I've averaged 17.8 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. That's okay. 15, I would expect about 15 kilometers, kilowatt hours is what I'm looking for. That's kind of what I'm looking for over time. Maybe I would have achieved that if I'd have gone a bit further, a bit less. You can get all the readouts, all the selections, all the stuff in here as well. You can get all the driving data, including the Think Blue trainer, which trains you to try and think in the way of driving an electric car. But also in here I have a decent media system, Bluetooth. I also have Apple CarPlay, I have Android Auto. Everything is involved in this as well. If you go home, you end up in this little navigation map screen that's split screen. So I have app connected and then telephone the other side. I have no phone connected at the moment, but it is such a simple system to use. I can't give it any demerit points. It's brilliant. Apart from it, there's no knob for turning the volume up and down. Now, a word on the heating controls. This is clever enough in that if you want to drive a long way, don't use the heater. Use the heated seats, right? If you're going to drive for a very long distance, turn off the heater, because that actually draws a lot of power from the engine of the car. I don't intend driving far this morning. Use the heated seats on either side. They draw less power over time and they will keep you just as warm as the heater inside the car. Unless you've rear passengers, then don't. But this is clever enough that it turns off the heater on this side when there is no passenger seatbelt closed. It just heats my side of the car, so it's still already reducing the power required for the car. Very clever. Gear stick it feels just like an automatic. It actually goes click, 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 click through each one of the systems. You can go into B at the bottom and D, reverse, neutral, drive. You've got 3 levels of resistance when it comes to driving the car. You can have recuperation level 1, 2 and 3, or turn it off completely, let the car do its own thing. that's effectively trying to get the car to give you energy back as it's going down hills and stuff. It requires you to go a lot of this. It's like driving ninja cars. You can do it if you want to, I suppose. It gives no resistance when it's turned on and it's driving down a hill and you don't put on the recuperation. It basically turns off, so it freewheels all the way down. You also have modes. A word on modes here. Normal uses all of the power of the car to give you all of the energy, and it's currently in normal mode, which means everything's turned on. If I go to eco mode, it reduces, the air conditioning won't come on. The heater won't come on at such severity, and the car itself won't accelerate as hard. But if you go into Eco Plus mode, Eco Plus turns off the air conditioning, right? So you don't get heat, you don't get cold, but you still get a fan which clears the windscreen, so it doesn't fog up in here so quickly, which often can happen when you turn off the air conditioning. It also restricts your speed to 95 kilometers per hour maximum, so it works. It really does work, and my range is gone. If I just look at the modes now, if I go back to normal, my range is dropped to 158 left, right? If I go to Eco, it goes to 175, and if I go to Eco Plus, it goes up to 195. So it's very easy to get long distance using the mode system, and these things are real. All the testing I've done all week, I have found them to be fairly on the money when it comes to the actual range, and it's all under WLTP, so the one next year is not going to change. There is a new one just hit the market in Ireland. They've changed the alloys to a prettier looking alloy, and there's a few optional extras as well, but the range isn't going to be much better yet, but there is a longer range one coming. Now, let's have a look at the back seat, then the boot, then we go for a spin. There's a car seat right in there. So in the back seat of the car, it is a very plain affair, of course. Two LED lights above me that are controllable from the front and the rear. I have a good grab handle, which is a soft version, so it goes boom back up to the top. Loads of headroom in the back. I have two vents in here that I can turn on or off. There isn't any other controls back here. I have rear seat pockets in the front. I have good door bins either side of me. They can actually contain bits of plastic. I don't know what that is, Volkswagen, but it's in the back of the car. Electric window, good visibility on both sides, really good materials used. I have an armrest in the centre with two cup holders in it. I actually have a ski hatch thingamajig here as well that allows me to put long objects up through the centre of the car. This is a Golf, after all. Don't forget, I'm just in an electric powered Golf. This isn't like a entirely new car, and it's just an electric powered Golf. So it is perfectly comparable, plenty of room, perfect size for me and perfect size for the family. You will get a person in the centre. I don't fancy a chance on a long run if you're an adult, but I definitely would get a child in the centre that easily. And you have 5 seat belts in the car too. So the boot space in this car is second to none, of course. We have a big cavity in here. You've got a 12 volt socket. You've got shopping bag hooks on both sides. You have plenty of space for everything, even your electrical cables, which of course, I'm sorry Volkswagen, I do throw them in here, but actually there is a space for them under the floor here. And there's even a little baggy thing you can put them into as well, if you want to be really tidy about the whole thing. It does come with this cable, this home charging cable. You do get a granny cable as well in case you don't have a home charger unit installed. But as a boot space goes, no complaints here whatsoever. Let's get this thing on the road and see what it's like to really drive an electric car. Okay, so I'm aware a lot of you think, particularly tech journalists, radio DJs, and a few other people think that the best thing you do with electric cars, first of all, get in and floor it. Woo! And you get traction control and all that stuff coming on. That's not really what electric cars are about, okay? That's not what it's for. That's not why you do that. So really what an electric car is for is to drive like a normal daily useful tool. That's what you have it for. That's why it exists, is to replace what you do in a normal car with a car that has zero emissions, right? Now, we can debate the power source that gives me the electricity all day long. You can debate that any way you want, but in actual fact, well, the majority of investment that's been happening over the last 5 to 8 years has been going into renewable resource, so much so Ireland is shutting down its turf-fired ones that are here in Ireland. We're going for renewable on that front as well. The ESB has been transferring over very quickly to renewable resources all along. So the investment is there. It's just a cart before the horse. We have to start drawing the power down in a way that makes sustainable sense. Right now, the last thing we want to do is everybody convert over to electricity. It wouldn't make a lot of sense because we're just not ready for it. We're not ready for it. We're only growing into that. The electric car industry is less than a decade old right now, well less than a decade old. It's really only in the last 3 to 5 years that anybody has really put something on the road. And if you take out the Renault kind of jumpstart they did with their ZE and the Nissan Leaf and stuff, the competition is only coming in now in the last 5 years. So that's working. Let's get back onto driving an electric car, living with e-Golf. E-Golf is about 230 kilometers, give or take. You can eke out more. You can definitely get less. Without a shadow of a doubt, you can easily start sticking on all of the stuff in normal mode, and bang, you're going to get less, much less, 150, 180 kilometers. But the average commute that people do is less than 30 kilometers. That's the average commute. That's what you do every day, probably, is 30 kilometers out, 30 kilometers back. Out of the box, I have 150 kilometers if I keep driving the way I'm driving. Now, 150 kilometers will take me pretty much anywhere. Dublin is 80 kilometers away. I mean, where's the switch in your brain that says, oh God, I'll have to stop and get electricity everywhere? That's very cheap fuel, 137.6. That's petrol as well. Was that right? Yeah. Circle K here. So, what else can you do to eke out more fuel, more electricity? Well, there's two schools of thought. One is, on the open road, recuperation isn't much use to you. So when I get up to speed here, and I'm just accelerating here, when I get up to 80, 90, 100 kilometers an hour, recuperation is kind of useless. It doesn't really do a whole lot because I don't really decelerate all that much. I don't really take my foot off long enough for deceleration to happen. So what Volkswagen has done is create a situation where it just stops giving you forward motion as well. It stops the engine resistance altogether. So I actually kind of coast when I take my foot off. It's sort of a coast effect. When I put my foot on, of course, I get full acceleration and all of the power that the car can give. If I go into recuperation mode, so if I go once to the left, I can recuperate level 1. So now when I take my foot off, I get resistance and I get recuperation. But on the flat, that's not going to help me. If I want to gain extra power, I need to go into a mode here and go into eco mode and then turn off the heating system. It's the best way, honest to God, you want to save some fuel, turn off the heating system. It makes a lot of sense. Just turn on the heated seats. It draws a little bit less power over time and will keep you just as warm. Actually, it keeps you kind of warmer. And set the car to heat itself at home when it's plugged in overnight. Now, thinking about the car itself, this drives like a Golf. It doesn't feel like a heavy Golf. It doesn't feel like it's laden down with batteries. It doesn't feel any of that stuff. It feels like a normal petrol-powered Golf, like a 1.4 TSI to drive and to look at. In here, I don't see any real difference at all, except for I don't have a rev counter. I have a power meter thing. I have auto lights, I have auto wipers, auto lights in that they put them dip up and down headlights as well. I have active cruise control, which works perfectly, and the car takes into account the deceleration. There's the car doing its own thing there as well, actually. It knows the zone ahead is 50 kilometers an hour, so it adds its own recuperation. It does its own thing. You may think this is like having a ghost in a machine, lads, but it knows the zone ahead was 50, so it put on recuperation. Now it's turned off the recuperation. It's doing all that on its own. I have to say, hats off to Volkswagen. They really have made a good fist at making a subtle electric car. This doesn't shout about being electric, it just is electric. You just won't notice it. It just looks like a Golf. A Golf with some funny lights on the outside, but a Golf nonetheless. You really can't tell a difference, and that's exactly what I like about it. It's that thing. It's not shouting, it's subtle, it's like a proper commuter car. Now, can I use it to commute? Like, there are days where I work in Dublin. There's days where I have to go from Portlaoise to Dublin and back again. It's about 80 kilometres, give or take, there and back. And I can do that on one charge in this car. It's 160 kilometers total. I can do 230 kilometers. So yes, I can commute in this every day, charging at home and charging again at home, or charging at work and leaving it there for a few hours, or using a fast charge along the way, because between me and Dublin there is junction 17. It's a fast charge station. I can fast charge there in a very short space of time. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you have subscribed at this point, and you are enjoying the electric car series. If you are, hit the thumbs up. Please tell your friends about it. Leave a comment down below if you think you can drive an electric car. But until the next time, I will see you on the far side.